Indecisive Cinema, episode 37. Yes. I think we just
no. Yes, it is. This is like the improv episode. Yes, it's episode 37. I'm Carlos Hernandez.
I'm Jeremy Knight,
and this show is a show about movies.
Yeah, and we just kind of talk about the movies that we've seen. So that includes like new releases that are in theater, but then also like stuff that we've revisited that we want to recommend or hate or whatever, just discuss. So figured we'd at least like give some kind of intro at the beginning of the show, just for the people that are listening for the first time.
What's this?
Yeah, because we kind of change it up every week. And,
we do talk about television that's worthy,
some TV, mostly movies though.
Yeah, 99% movies, 95% movie, 5%.
It's just whatever we watch. Like this week, we've got 2 shows to talk about.
Yeah, and I haven't. We'll
get to it. We got a ton of stuff though, so it should be fun. But what this has been? We haven't talked in a month.
Yeah, it's been December 15th was our last show,
but we haven't recorded in a month.
We haven't recorded. January 19th is this first New Year show. Happy New Year, guys.
It's a nice cold day outside in Houston, Texas.
Freezing out there. What's been happening? I got married at the end of the month, as you saw on our page. Thank you, Jeremy, for posting that.
Of course.
And Jeremy's been tearing it up. Jeremy, what you been doing besides work?
Christmas happened, so that happened, which is always fun. Although I will say, I feel like this year, because of the shopping and all the just stuff that I had to do, which I know, I was ready for the holidays to be over for the first, other than like when I worked retail. This is like the first time where I wasn't working retail that I was like totally ready for the new year, just so we could get back in routine. And because I was just tired of like, it throws off the work week, it throws off so many things, and I just was ready to get back to like just a structured kind of work week and everything. So, and then I got the flu, pretty bad flu back in. It was like right after New Year's or like right before New Year's. Okay. And so I was just sick as a dog for like a full week. Shit. I had to shoot a wedding on the 4th, and I lost 8 pounds in water weight, in a 2-day span. Yeah. I was just miserable, so that wasn't fun. I did get to watch a lot of movies though in that time, so that's the good news. And sorry, my voice sounds a little rough this morning. I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep because I shot a wedding last night too, and it's poured. I don't know did you guys get any of that rain up here? I was in Galveston.
When?
Yesterday.
A little bit. Wasn't that bad.
Because it came down on us.
No, what am I talking about? It did.
All afternoon at that wedding. And it was like it was it would have been all outside if they hadn't had these tents to cover up like the main sections where this venue was. But it was the Bryan Museum in Galveston. A really good wedding, really nice people, great couple. And I think everything went smoothly, but the rain it was just brutal. It was like flooding type of rain where the water was like seeping into the aisle and stuff like that. So man, there was a point where I was just standing in like not quite ankle deep water, but almost. My socks were soaked for like the entire day, and it was just it was exhausting. But good wedding though, and it went really smoothly considering all that stuff. But
now that you say that, we were in League City and we were in a 5 Below when it came down, and we've been not babysitting, but we decided to take my girl's dog Uber. And he was locked in the car, and I felt so horrible because we cracked open a window for him, and I was like, "Oh my god, my car's gonna be flooded." So I ended up taking him out of the car, and then they're actually training him to be an emotional support dog. So I walked in, and when somebody asked, I said, "Oh, this is my emotional support dog," and they didn't even question. They just okay. And then I can the dog everywhere we went.
We also It was just brutal. I don't know. It was one of those weddings. It was again, everything went pretty smoothly, but it was just exhausting.
So how did it?
Pretty worn out.
How did it look while you were shooting? Was there rain coming down on them, or while they were?
Well, so her dress got pretty wet when she had to come down that aisle. They pushed most of it out of the way, at least for when she walked down. But it was definitely like significant water on just in that space. But we were thankfully covered. There was nobody was like getting dripped on, like at least in the tent, because they bought like a massive tent over the space. So. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it's all you can really do. There's a point where you just kind of go, all right, this is what it is.
I was going to say, I'll always remember that day.
I mean, it'll be a memorable wedding for that reason for me. Yeah, for sure. Because the challenge though is like you've got to keep all the equipment. Like the main thing is just protecting the lenses from like droplets of water and stuff like that, because that stuff will show up in
of course,
all the video. So we were just kind of, I came completely unprepared. Like it was like in terms of like change of clothes and like umbrella. Like it had none of that stuff. We had all the gear, obviously, but I don't know. It was just one of those days. Like I wish I had brought a change of clothes.
You shouldn't have that in your car, in the back of your car.
Yeah, it's one of those things I need to add to the kids.
It was how many was the crew? You and someone else?
Yeah, I always have a second shooter.
Second shooter, okay.
Yeah, not a bad. But if that's why I'm kind of exhausted. I'm still waking up. I woke up today and audibly, like the alarm went off, and I audibly went, "Oh no!"
I actually said, "I don't think he's going to show up for some reason."
No, I wanted to do the show because we legitimately have like 15 movies to talk about and the Oscars. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about and unpack. So
let's start it off then, bro, because we got things to do. Bro.
Yeah, we do. So the only trailer or the only like news or trailers that I put down was the Christopher Nolan's Tenet trailer dropped, which looks really interesting.
Interesting, I will say.
I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah, that's what I do like that. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah, well, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, it looks kind of like a mind-bending thriller in the vein of something like Inception, but more like
somebody. Yeah, somebody said it was like Inception meets, and I forgot the other, like an action film, and I was like,
it looks like Heat almost. It looks like a Michael Mann style thriller.
Yeah,
like just in the tone of it, at least from a lot of the shots and just the. I don't know, just the way the look of it is.
It looks amazing. I'll say that. I mean,
I don't know if Van Hoytema shot this one because he shot Interstellar, and I think he shot Dunkirk, but maybe that was somebody else.
Yeah. I just got Dunkirk. I got to watch it so we can talk about it. I just got it.
Yeah, but, exceptional.
But no, when I saw Tenet, I said, let me check this out, and then I was like, oh, this looks really good.
Yeah, it's really
even though I don't know what the fuck it's about.
It can be terrible, but I'm glad to see we've got Black Klansman on the list.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see because he's the lead from that, right? The guy in Tenet. So
Denzel Washington's son.
He's really good. I forget that he's Denzel Washington's son.
Yeah.
But he's really great in Black Klansman.
He looks good. Yeah, he was.
And I'm excited. Robert Pattinson plays a supporting role. It looks
and that's the other thing too. I was like, damn.
It's got the traditional good Batman. Nolan cast. Yeah. I don't know. That was kind of. I didn't even know we were getting another Nolan film. I guess it's about time.
Yeah, so that was like a surprise trailer. They just dropped it, and people were like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's right. I forget he makes."
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it was cool. I dug it.
Anytime you get a new, for me, if you get in, I don't know, you're kind of hot and cold with him, but
I'm a love hate with him.
We've talked about that many times. But I'm always, it's like a Paul Thomas, like Nolan's definitely up there for me as far as like directors that I will see everything that they release regardless.
I'll see him. I'm not gonna say I love him, but I do. I give him respect to say that I'll check out every film he makes. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. You don't have to like anything.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair. But anyway, let's get to these new releases. I saw Frozen 1 and 2. Well, so I had never seen the first one.
It's like when you were cutting films, I was like, I guess he wants to talk about Frozen 1 and 2. But all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new release. The only reason we're talking about either is because I saw the second one ultimately, and it's still in theaters. I went. I was so sick that day. I think I had a migraine, and then we went and saw it. I just was like, I've been like just under the weather.
So I'm going to ask you. You saw it for you, or Marissa's a big fan of Disney?
Well, so my brother really likes. Everybody raves about the first Frozen. It's like like a cult hit almost. Maybe not cult hit.
It's like it's a big.
But it's not like it's. And my notes of that is it's not like a top tier Disney film.
Not. Yeah, I'm
like
not.
The animation's not like Toy Story level or any. It's not
in my top 5, no doubt.
It's interesting and it's visually interesting, but it's definitely more like the B tier. That became maybe an A tier or like A minus tier. I think it's like a B plus. It's somewhere in that territory where it's like it's really solid, but it's not. Not that I ever rate things that way, but I would if I could. I love ratings, but
that's what we do.
But yeah, it's definitely not in like that upper tier of like
I agree.
Classic Disney. Like I wouldn't consider it like a Disney classic by any means.
I think the song is what I think overshadowed the movie.
There's some good stuff in it. But I do feel like the movie's kind of rushed. So I have some issues. I don't know. It's like I don't really care to talk about either.
I got you. Yeah.
It's just talking more generally about it, because ultimately. It's just I don't know. It's just I guess I was expecting it to be like that A tier because everybody talks about it so highly. And maybe that's just because it surprised people, which is fine. But it's no Finding Nemo even. It's no there's just so many things that are just way above that. And so it was kind of for me. I was just like this is just it's fine. It's well done. There's some great performances, like singing wise, in it.
Yeah.
Like the Elsa, I forgot her name. She's also in Uncut Gems.
Dina Menzel.
Dina Menzel, yeah. She's terrific. I mean,
she's amazing.
Again, there's some good stuff, and I would say the same thing about the second. Like it's pretty solid overall. Like it's an entertaining film.
Isn't she in Uncut Gems?
That's what I said. She plays Adam Sandler's wife. So I mean, it just like the characters in that film are likable enough and they're entertaining enough to just watch but they're not like groundbreaking. I don't think these movies like go to places that, I mean, there's occasional like in any good or like B plus to A tier Disney film, like there's like parent deaths and stuff like that, like in the first Frozen. They always attempt to kind of pull at the heartstrings, but I do feel like this is one of those films where it doesn't really earn that the way that something like Up, or it just doesn't. I don't know. I just wasn't.
No. I'm not saying it was bad. it's a hard film to watch.
Up. Absolutely. No. That's a terrific movie. Yeah. But so it's, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like the movies they're just kind of like they're like serviceable. But the characters are interesting, and it looks pretty good. And so I just was not as impressed as I thought I would have been, considering how much praise it had gotten. So I don't know. Maybe I went in with wrong expectations, but I did enjoy myself. Like I was never really, but I was also just kind of like, I didn't really need to see this. Same thing with Marissa. Was just kind of like, with Frozen 2. It was just. I definitely don't think it's as good as the first one as far as songs go. But it is well made, and for a sequel, I do think it's pretty consistent. Like I think they go in an interesting direction with these characters, and so I mean overall, I mean Frozen 2 is fine. I think if you like the first one, you should go see the second one with tempered expectations. But I mean it's so I've finally fucking seen Frozen. Everybody's been telling me to see Frozen. And I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, I know. I feel like it's one of those movies I knew how I'd react to it. Where I was like, I'll never watch it again unless I have to.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a
nothing
follower.
wrong with that movie.
I think I've seen it a billion times. So I think that's why, And my girls saw it too. And I think because I was upset that they saw it with their mom, but of course, they have that. And they said something that I think actually stopped me from seeing it with Rhonda and JC. And it was that she said that. All those internet dark theories about how all the movies tie in with Tarzan and all that stuff. Yeah. And they said that they made a point to debunk all that for some strange reason. Like whoever was writing this one was like, you know what, we're going to break that down because I love the and again, I don't want to tangent off, but I love the dark web conspiracy theories about how all the films interconnect, and I think Frozen was interesting because they connected to Beauty and the Beast, it connected to Tarzan, it connected to Tangled.
The first one,
because it had all these little hints in it, and it's just I mean, what I think it was like about 6 years after the other one, from the first to the second, and I'm assuming that I know that these young guys who were young kids back in 2012 and 13 when the movie came out decided to say, knowing of these theories, said, when we do this one, we're going to have to debunk that. So it kind of turned me out because she said, Gloriana knows that I love it, so she was like, and the whole Tarzan theory, they debunk it. They make sure they make a thing that it's not, that's not the case. And I was like, why would they do that? I mean, they should keep that mystery, but
I don't know specifically what the comparisons would be, so it's hard because the only thing I could think of would be like the film does have somewhat of a political message. It's not like it's a little ham-fisted with it's like an immigration thing, which is fine. I mean, it's just it's odd to see that in a kid's film. I feel like, but that's not a problem for me. It was just so maybe potentially. Because of the politics of it, maybe they were trying to make sure that nobody misconstrued that as something different.
Okay. I got
Who knows? But I don't know specifically what you're talking about, though. So
because since the first one, and they died in the boat accident thingy. Oh, they always say because if you watch Tarzan in 1999, you see that they crash landed onto the thing. They had Tarzan as a baby, and then he grew up to be Tarzan, and that was a big theory for a long. And then
that's fun theory.
And then when you see the boat, and that's the other one. The boat when their boat crashes, that's like the boat in Little Mermaid that you see on the water when she's swimming around it. And then the whole thing,
fun.
And then it's obviously, it's not even a thing. Tangled, whatever her name is, Rapunzel and Flynn are there at the coronation later on. You see them there. So there's a lot of, and then the Beauty and the Beast, where as you see the mother in Tarzan, who looks a lot like Belle. Is supposedly the mother of their mother in Frozen. So it's just a bunch of all these conspiracy theories, and I mean, since we're not going to be on this movie for more than another minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, I know. So, but anyway, I didn't want to see it because of that. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. I moved off.
All I can say about what you're talking about, though, I'll finish this thought at least, is that I can't really talk about what happens with the parents for spoiler's sake. I don't think they're intentionally debunking any kind of conspiracy theory, though. That would be all I'll say. So for those that are worried about the Frozen 2 spoilers, that was the spoiler-free version of it. So let's move on to Dolemite is my name, which is, have you seen
Dolemite? I have not.
Interesting.
And it's funny because
man,
of course, I love Eddie Murphy. I watched that episode of Saturday Night Live.
Holy shit. By the way, the episode, the Mr. Robinson is so, I've watched that sketch. Like, I actually haven't seen the whole episode, but with that sketch,
you need to see the whole episode.
Like, I forget how funny he is. And this movie is a perfect example of that. It's like where when he's on, like, that guy kills.
Eddie Murphy's amazing. And Rhonda wants to see Dolemite. I was like, we're going to watch it next week. Yeah. And we ended up binge watching something else last weekend.
That's just how it works.
But anyway, so Dolemite is my name. Give me your review, bro.
So Dolemite is my name. For those that don't know what it is essentially a somewhat fictional retelling of the story and life of Rudy Ray Moore, who was a kind of an entertainer, I guess is the best word, in the early 70s. And I think like throughout most of the 70s, at least.
Late 60s or something,
He went on to produce kind of some action schlock. One of them, the most notoriously, Dolemite. He basically, he's like a performer that creates this. He actually kind of, at least in the film, he steals this character from a homeless person named Dolemite, who just kind of wears like really vibrant clothes and is just really loud and abrasive. And it's like the first time that he was getting laughs, at least in this film. I don't know how much of that's true, but I do know that in real life, I mean, he created this character and released it, basically a comedy album, essentially, and then hit it big. And because he started like selling those records himself, he self-distributed that, and so the movie shows all that, and then shows kind of the way that he essentially comes into making a Dolemite film, starring himself and produced and written by I forget the name. It's in the movie. It's the real guy. It's played by Key and Peele, not Jordan, but Keegan-Michael Key, who's great in this as the writer of this schlock like ninja action film. So and then it shows kind of the production process, which is kind of similar to like The Disaster Artist to some degree, at least in terms of humor. So what's just really great about Dolemite is not only just the lead performance by Eddie Murphy. I mean, the dude's just so charismatic. He leaps off. It's just contagious. I mean, it's so good to have him back. Like it's one of those he's just one of those people that I don't know. It's just watching him on screen is just special. You know, but the movie's fun in the way that like success stories are fun. Like it reminds me a lot of like Boogie Nights. Just in like at least the first half of Boogie Nights, where it's like everything's going well. Like they're producing these records. There's like self-distributing it. It's just kind of scrappy and like underground and it captures what's great about live comedy. I feel like Dolemite, or this movie at least, just kind of understands like that vibe and that like atmosphere, especially at least in the 70s. And it's interesting because I think it's set in LA. And it kind of it's shot like New York. It looks kind of like New York, but it's interesting to kind of see LA like back in the 70s. It's just on screen. It's just again, it reminds me a lot of Boogie Nights in that regard. And it's just really entertaining. It's a funny film, but it's also, again, it's fun in that way that like it's just fun that they have momentum and they're like gaining popularity. You're rooting for this character, even though to some degree he's kind of fooling people, which is very interesting. And I think it's Eddie Murphy's performance is just fantastic in this. But it also like it just feels loose and kind of improvised, and it's just exciting and even like but it feels improvised, but the camera work is very like floaty and very planned and meticulous. And
I mean, a lot of those actors are improv actors. So when you say that, I believe it.
So maybe the dialogue scenes are, but there's a lot of like really well done kind of cinematography and stuff in it as well that really captures that like time period. And in the same way that Boogie Nights just has like that opening scene.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like Dolemite, a lot of the camera work reminds me of that. It's also interesting to see just kind of how he becomes this character. It's not necessarily a completely different version of himself, but it's kind of an elevated, unshamed, or like uncensored, kind of shameless version of Rudy Ray Moore. I think there's a line where he says something along the lines of like, "I want the world to know I exist." It's just it's interesting to see him kind of create something that's likable rather than because he doesn't feel like himself is likable enough, and the movie kind of toys with that idea in a way that's interesting. But again, like just Eddie Murphy's he's so amazing. Contagious, that energy. And this movie's also fun just in the way that like it's fun to watch how terrible films get made. So like the sex scene from Dolemite, which I've only seen clips of. I haven't actually watched. So I was trying to watch Dolemite the week I was sick, but and my Amazon wasn't letting me play it for some reason. I don't know why. It kept giving me an error. And then Wesley Snipes plays the director, the real life director. I forgot his name as well. He's just fantastic as well in this like smaller role. I don't know. It's like a film that's just exciting and bold, and I feel like the fact that it was released on Netflix is why it's not in contention at the Oscars.
Well, I mean, he got nominated for the Globe. He got nominated for the Golden Globe, and I knew he wasn't going to win, but I was happy that he was nominated.
Absolutely.
I felt like for his return, they celebrated him and everything.
And I don't know this is necessarily like a Best Picture nominee. It's pretty damn good though. And I feel like if it had gotten a proper theatrical release, I mean, it got like a 95% Rotten Tomatoes. I just think that because it was on Netflix, everybody was kind of like, I can watch that whenever. I mean, I've done this with The Irishman.
We still haven't seen it.
I still haven't seen The Irishman. And it's
Roma from last year.
Exactly. It's just one of those things where it's like because it's available so easily.
I hate that. Yeah, I know.
It makes people less likely to go see it.
Watch it.
Even when you make a recommendation, it's like go watch Dolemite. My friends, and I'm just like, it's Eddie Murphy. Like go watch Dolemite, and people are just like, yeah, I know. And then you go and and then I go see Frozen 2 instead of watching Dolemite.
So many choices.
Or Cats, which we'll get to.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. We'll get to that. But the next one on the list, though, I'll move back to you. So if you get a chance, go see Dolemite's on Netflix.
I'm
go
sorry.
watch it.
I'm listening to you. But so In the Tall Grass, we watched that last night.
Which I haven't seen, but it's a Stephen King adaptation.
It's Stephen King and his son Joe Hill, which I was very interested when the book came out originally, and I was like, because the father and son.
They wrote the book together.
They wrote the book together, and and this came out back in, I want to say, October or November of last year, but it wasn't like a small film. I mean, it has like maybe just has Patrick Wilson's like the biggest actor in it. And I never read the book, but we watched it last night. Just, my daughter was like, let's pick a good horror movie. And when she saw that, she read the thing about a maze, and she was, I like mazes. And it's good. So basically the story is a young woman who's pregnant is driving to San Diego to have her child and then give it up for, I guess, adoption. Is that what you call it? Anyway. And she's with her brother. And the interesting thing, and I'll try to be quick, is like it opens up. It seems you hear the 50s music. Stephen King is big on the old days. And you get this feeling that it's the 50s. But then when they finally stop the car, because it opens up, they're talking in the car on the drive there. When they stop the car in the wide shot, you see that they have like a brand new Nissan, and I'm like, so I was kind of confused, but it's
like, did they just fuck up the period piece aspect, or is it?
No, it actually it's good because, like I said, I'll get into the story. So they end up hearing a child screaming for help in these tall grass, wood, like weeds area where they stopped the car in front of a church, and if you see in the church, you see cars of all different makes and models from the 20s all the way to now. So you see that there is something weird, and then that's why the music takes a play in it, because you're like, they're playing 50s music, but it's 2010s. It was 2019, and like anyone else, the brother is like, let's go help him, and she's like, I don't know, my stomach's hurt, she's pregnant, but they end up going in, and all of a sudden, like, it's the best part is like the kid's calling them, and they're walking, they get separated. And the cool part is, like, finally he's like, they've been walking for like almost an hour. And she's like, listen, I want to go back to the car. She goes, just show me where you are. And we'll jump in 1, 2, 3. And they jump. And it's like, maybe they're like 10 feet away from each other. And then he goes, I think I saw you do it one more time. When they do it again, he's like 150 feet. So you realize that there's some type of weird thing going on. And without giving anything away, you find out that You know, they're in there a long time. It's dark. It's already nighttime. She falls down. It looks like she's about to have the baby. And her brother's still calling out for her. And then she's screaming, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Then cut to some other guy's driving. And he has a picture of them. And you see it's a guy who he knows the girl and the guy. And as he's driving by the church, he sees their car there. And then he's like, oh, shit. So he goes, and then he goes in there.
Is he like a detective or something?
No, you find out that it's the father of the child. And then you realize that time,
you're getting into spoilers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like, you asked me, so I haven't
seen it, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But the thing is that you find out there's some type of time displacement going on in these tall grasses, and it is creepy. It's scary. It's funny because, and again, without giving away spoilers, Gloriana was like, "Ooh, that's like Midsommar." So there's some type of thing like that going on. I liked it a lot. It wasn't. There's a couple of jump scares, and it wasn't scary. But it was a good Stephen King story. It was like very solid. The ending is kind of little, kind of happy ending, but I still liked it. It was tight. Patrick Wilson's really good in it. He's in it for, he like pops up every maybe 10, 15 minutes, but he's an integral part of the story. And everyone else is like, I've never heard of them, never saw them. I'm pretty sure we'll never see them again.
Yeah, it looks like a lower budget.
Very low
Netflix
budget. Yeah,
right?
They probably paid maybe $1 million for it, and they're making money off of it because it's got 94%. Because now they have a little rating on when you play film. Yeah, believe it or not.
I don't want that in my streaming platforms, but. I don't even like that they do that with like movie theaters now, where they show you like the tomato scores. Like I don't want scores. That was actually when I was like looking for stuff when I was sick. That it was something I talked to Marissa about. Is I was just like I miss the days where you would just pick stuff based on the title, like the cover.
Oh, the trailer.
You mean like you would see shit that was terrible, and but then you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
like I know there's a movie on this list that I was really surprised by.
Me too. Yeah.
And it's just kind of like I miss those days where you would find stuff.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't happen as often anymore, or just watch things without any kind of preconceived notion of what it is, or how good it or bad it is. I hate that's one thing I really don't like about movies anymore. Is it's hard to like go in fresh with no outside opinion or no outside perspective on it. So I don't know. It's one thing to see a trailer. It's another thing to like know that everybody likes or dislikes something
because
it changes the way that you think. And so it's hard to like, I don't know, just go in and be blown away by something.
So I'm the guy that I do want to see a trailer before I see a film. And, and if you're talking about the old days, like with me, I mean, you're younger than me, but with VHS,
I like trailers.
That's how it was. It's like we would go to Blockbuster or the local video store, look at the box.
Yeah.
So this looks good, and turn around and read about it.
Yeah, and you might like rent it because of like an actor or a director or something. And I miss those days though, because you'd watch junk. Like by accident, and not that you want to watch junk. I just what I mean is like I got you. Again, it's like I like being surprised by movies.
And the funny thing, you were talking about the score. Not only do you get the score when you go to your little what do you call them clickbaits, but they actually start playing the trailer on Netflix now.
Yeah,
once you go to the movie, boom, the trailer starts. You're like, okay, well, let me see the trailer for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, but Netflix has come a long way. They're $1 billion industry now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. We just have to embrace it.
Yeah, and then the Tall Grass was not bad. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure you're not going to run home and see it, but if you're bored one day, it was really good. I liked it. The movie was very well done, and like I said, there's a couple of surprises, but it was good. I liked it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's why I put it on this list. I just wanted to see if it's like worth watching, just as like a B movie.
Definitely B movie.
Kind of what it seems
definitely
like.
Definitely B movie.
So I'm gonna stumble through John Mulaney and this Sack Lunch Bunch because it's a hard thing to describe. It's not so much that I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's essentially a children's television special.
Yeah.
In the vein of Sesame Street, almost, it would be the best comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But it's written by John Mulaney, and the humor is for adults. Because it's very, like, I would almost compare it to, like, I think you should leave it to some degree. It's a very surreal and very self-aware, and, like, a kid isn't going to pick up on any of that stuff. That being said, it also seems like it's for children. Like it's pretty clean. Like there's not a whole lot of like cursing or anything like that. And so it's an odd experience because as an adult you're watching it and it's like but what's interesting about it is it kind of has like broad appeal. Like it can be, I feel like it could be fun for kids and adults. But so I don't really know who this is exactly for. But it's a fun little experiment that he does. And it's just it's really damn funny. And there's some really incredible like set pieces and some really memorable characters. Like Jake Gyllenhaal plays this guy who struggles. He wants to make music, and he's like, and he can't seem to make noise. Like, it's like, that's the bit. Like, he's like trying to make music, but like he goes to stomp on something and it like doesn't make any noise because of the shoes he's wearing, or it's such a silly gag. And Jake Gyllenhaal's so funny and memorable in it. And then there's just some great musical numbers, and the kids are fantastic, like really exceptional, like voice actors. And I mean, like one of the kids, like each of the main children get their own song, and it's in the show, and it's almost like a sketch that turns into a musical at times. Like it's a really bizarre platform. It's a hard thing to describe, but when you watch it, it's really interesting, and it's really impressive, and it's technically really well made and well shot. And it's just on Netflix as like a comedy special, but it's not really, it kind of is that, but it isn't exactly. It's not like a stand-up show. But the kids are fantastic, and that was really the most memorable thing. Jake Gyllenhaal and the kids are worth watching. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes. Not to be
spoilers, but that was a spoiler, bro.
What?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
He's in the trailer.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't see the trailer. I just saw well, like I said, the whole thing about it starts with a trailer, and I'm like, oh, I quickly go right, so I don't want to see the trailer for this yet.
Yeah, he's in the trailer though, but it's a really fun little experiment. I feel like I don't know if there's like a platform for this kind of thing to exist. Like it's like it feels more like a production, like a film, rather than in the way it's shot and everything. Rather than something that, like Sesame Street was like a weekly show or a daily. I don't know how when.
Actually, it was daily.
Was it daily? Yeah.
Daily.
Damn. But this feels like it's at a different level of production. Like it's more scripted, and it's almost like a sketch show. Yeah. But in like children's TV special format. Yeah. Which is very interesting, and it's just very impressive. I had a good time.
Yeah, so I definitely want to watch.
That's also on Netflix. So
I'll watch it tonight. Yeah.
That gives us to Uncut Gems, which is probably it's not the thing I'm most excited to talk about today, but it's definitely up there. Uncut Gems is the latest from the Safdie brothers, who did Good Time, which is extraordinary. I mean, Good Time for a debut feature. Yeah, I think it's their debut feature. Yeah, Good Time with Robert Pattinson is just one of those movies that punches you in the gut. Like it's the definition of a thriller. It's all shot in close-ups. It's greasy and just uncomfortable, and it's tense in a way that's like. It's just anxiety inducing. And the same could be said for Uncut Gems in all the best ways. So it's a story. It's about a Jewish jewelry store owner who's kind of a hustler. He's addicted to gambling, which isn't very clear from the trailers and from he loves betting on like basketball and stuff like that.
The basketball player's in it. He plays himself.
Yeah, so Kevin Garnett is in the film. He's actually really, really great in it. And they use, so it's set in 2010 or 2012. I forget. It's set like a decade ago. Yeah. Somewhere in that rant when he was still playing. I think he's retired at this point. Retired, and they use like the gambling plays a big role. It's a film about sports gambling to some degree, but it's also he runs a jewelry store, and we kind of enter his world in the middle of him going through a financial crisis where he owes somebody who's pretty dangerous a lot of money. I think it's like $100,000 or something like that. And essentially the film it's shot in the style of A Day in the Life, where it's almost documentary. It's all close-ups, just like Good Time, and but it's also very stylish. And the camera will like walk out a building, and he'll walk down the street and walk into another building, and another scene starts. Yeah. And what's interesting about that, and the way it's shot, it feels very realistic and very grounded in reality. And that's what makes it more stressful, is because it feels real, and the world feels lived in. Like he passes people on the street that recognize him. Like it feels like it's a routine for him. This is how he lives. He lives this like tightrope act of essentially, he'll get a ring from somebody and then pawn it, use the money to bet on basketball, right? And what's interesting about the film is the whole time, and I've seen this twice now, and I really think it's extraordinary. And the reason is I feel like there's all these moments in the film, all these little details that he's missing, because he's so caught up in making money and gambling, and just he's so caught up in his own head and in what he's trying to accomplish that he's ignoring the employee that's having a hard time, that's trying to communicate with him that like, I'm going to leave if you don't fix all this shit. And then he's again like ignoring people that he owes money to. He's ignoring his family, and it's catching up to him, and that's what the whole film is about. And he essentially purchases, and I haven't talked about anything spoilers. Like this is
this isn't true.
I don't think it's a movie that you could spoil. To be honest, like there is a moment that you could, but I do think like overall, it's he basically buys a this gem from I forget where it is. I think it's in like either South America or Africa, in like a poor country where they are mining for different gems, and they come across this black opal, and Adam Sandler purchases it, and it comes like in a fish. And the whole film is like the plot surrounds this gem that he has difficulty getting back because he loaned it to Kevin Garnett. And that's essentially the plot.
Oh, interesting.
So he owes people money, and so it's just insanely stressful because financially, it's like in the way that financial stress is stressful. That's what this movie feels. That's like the tension you feel every second that you're in it. But it's also there's an immediate danger of these people that he owes money to, like a physical danger, and which is terrifying and in a way that's very realistic. It's not like an incredibly violent film. But when it is violent, it packs a punch, because it just, I don't know, it feels grounded again. But what's so terrific, and the key part of this movie that makes it what it is Adam Sandler's performance, which is, and you've heard that it's terrific. You've heard that the performance is great, but I think this is like one of those performances that we'll talk about in the way that we talk about Punch Drunk Love. And obviously that's Adam Sandler, but like I just mean like that's a movie that anytime we talk about Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love comes up because it's his best film, and he's so outstanding in it that it's that memorable of a performance, especially for a guy who did Jack and Jill. You know? And you know this character Howard is like almost like manic, like it's like a and he's just he's like just doing too many things at once. There's scenes where he's having a conversation with somebody and there's somebody yelling at him in the background, like destroying his office and shit. And it's just so stressful and anxiety inducing in a way that his life is so scattered, and he's just losing it all. He's losing control of all of it. And that's interesting, just dramatically. Right? I'm trying to think what other notes or thoughts I had to say about it, because I've had this discussion with a lot of people about this. I've talked about this movie for like 2 weeks. It was like all I thought about, because it's just one of those movies that you see it and then it sticks with you. I don't know. And then I saw it again with my brother, and I was just even more impressed by what it does and where it goes. And it's an atrocity that this was snubbed at the Oscars.
Yeah, I heard. I know.
Because I do think it's one of the best films of the year, and I also think that it's certainly one of the best performances of the year. No, not that there aren't really strong films in all these categories that I'm talking about, but Uncut Gems is fucking great. And it's one of those movies that I don't know if I need to see it again, because I feel like that it's just so anxiety driven that it's a hard film to watch. But Adam Sandler is so outstanding in it, and again, the world that it builds around this particular character, it feels like somebody you know. He's kind of full of shit too, which is interesting. Just from a standpoint of like, there's this fantastic scene where he tries to connect with his daughter, and she snubs him basically and that's to some degree, it's like just she's a teenager, or like she's like in high school is what it seems like, and so it's kind of that age, but you can see it in his face that he's like, I've missed something with this, because I'm so caught up in the financial stuff and the gambling and everything that he's got going on, and there's just this great performance, this look that Adam Sandler has that just says so much, and it's one of those things where my friend Hunter, who I know from high school, he's a Rotten Tomatoes critic now, and he's a great writer. He described it as like 10 years from now, this is the kind of performance we'll be talking about. Not like, I haven't seen Marriage Story, but the comparison he said is like Marriage Story is like Adam Driver's really good, but it's like, that's not a performance that we'll be talking about 10 years from now. And we'll talk more about the Oscar nominations in a little bit, but I think this performance is like as good as Joaquin and Joker. Like I think Adam Sandler just embodies. You forget that you're watching Adam Sandler. Yeah. And even just in like, I don't know, like the way he dresses, and there's a scene where he's like walking down the street and his shirt is like wide open because he just has no self-awareness and he just doesn't care about that at that moment in the film. And there's so many details in that performance that are, I don't know, man, it's something else. Yeah. You should go see it in theaters if you can. It's and give it your full attention because it's deserving.
Yeah, my old partner, old when I was a child, Frank Crespo actually texted me. He lives in Washington, D.C., and he says, you need to see it right now. He goes, you got to see it today. He goes, it's like one of the great film. And I was like...
It's also a great New York film.
Yeah, That's
absolutely. So. It reminds me of... Did you ever see Before the Devil Knows You're Dead?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that and the fact that like these characters are just like spiraling out of control. And it's slimy in the way that movie is, and it's just like it makes you want to take a shower afterwards.
I like that.
But again, it's like it just is, and even like the camera, it just feels so masterful in the way that like I don't know, man, it's.
Shout out to Frank Crespo. I want him to hear the show. I'm going to text him later to watch
it. And it has one of my favorite lines all year, which is Adam Sandler is talking to, he's from Sorry to Bother You, the lead. I'm going totally blank on his name.
Sorry to bother you.
Lakeith Stanfield,
Lakeith,
who's really great in this too, is this guy who sells fake jewelry out of his store and brings him new clients. So they're having a conversation, and Adam Sandler's like, you know, the first 2 points in basketball history were scored by a Jew, and Lakeith Stanfield says, like, who? Fred Flintstein? Flintstein? And I was just like, damn, that's a terrific piece of dialogue. But anyway, it's Uncut Gems is just extraordinary. So
I love the segue now. I love the segue because the next movie is Cats. From the greatest film of all time to...
Do we have to talk about Cats?
Real quick. I mean, now...
Well, I have things to say about Cats, actually. I have a whole page of notes on this movie. But it is one of those things where... So we went and saw this as a joke, obviously.
Oh, okay. I thought Marissa wanted to see
Marissa hates the musical.
Oh, yeah. So do I.
And apparently most people do. Like if you actually like musicals, like Cats is a really bad one.
Yeah.
And apparently it's Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music for it, and or T.S. Eliot wrote the poems.
The poems that it was based on.
And then Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music. Yeah, the score for it. Yeah. A great composer.
Yeah, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
The music isn't very good. There's one particularly good song, but I really can't stand most of the music.
Memories is the most famous.
That also may be because I just. There's so many things wrong with this film, but to start, I guess, like the actual mix of the audio and the music in this film, like the dialogue and the just the voiceover doesn't pair well, which is a whole problem, and a pretty massive one, but it's one of many massive problems. So, I mean, everything just looks fake, which is the biggest, another one of those like
CGI. I don't know what happened.
So apparently. So the idea of this, and if you know I don't even want to go into the plot of Cats. Who gives a shit? It's a Broadway musical that's like
40 years ago.
For some reason, one of the most popular musicals out there. I don't understand it.
It ran on Broadway for
it doesn't really have a plot though, because it was based off these like poems.
Yeah,
that it's essentially a bunch of cats are like deciding who gets to ascend into this. Like I don't even know where it is, and it's hard to follow because of the way the dialogue is mixed in this film, which is. Just terrible. But so the idea though was that they were going to have actual human people actors, not CG, not animated, not animation, and they didn't want them to like dress in costumes because they wanted it to be more realistic. So they CG'd over actors' bodies in post. Apparently, they didn't wear like motion capture outfits, which is
that's why it looks horrible.
Which is one of those things where like until I saw this, I was to some degree defending. It's Tom Hooper who directed it. I was defending him because I think he's a pretty good filmmaker. Maybe he's not a great filmmaker, but I mean, because he did King's Speech and he did Les Mis, which are on a technical level really impressive in a lot of ways, which is maybe just a cinematographer thing, not a directing thing necessarily, but his films have a unique style to them that is impressive technically. And I don't know, when I saw the first Cats trailer, before I realized that the whole movie looked like the worst looking things in the trailer, Because when the first scene happens, you go, oh no, this is the whole movie, you know, which is a whole, you know, it's like, this is what this looks like for real. Like, because everybody was making, like, I saw like the screen grabs from the trailer, and I was like, maybe they're just maybe it's not completely finished. It is not finished, even in the theater. I mean, there's a whole article about that where apparently they like Judi Dench has like you can see her ring. There's a ton of like human feet and hands that weren't finished in the animation. It's just a disaster. So yeah, it's certainly not finished, but I guess the idea was that like you would take like, you know, actual people, actors, and so that you could see the choreography and be impressed, because there is some impressive choreography in it. And then you blend it with CG in order to make it so that they're not just wearing cat outfits. Cat outfits would have worked far better. Yeah, in my opinion.
I think so. Yeah,
and the problem is the way that they did. Apparently, Tom Hooper decided intentionally not to do motion capture outfits for some stupid reason, which is like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you try and CG this in post unless it was just a budgetary thing?
I have a theory. And don't get me wrong, because look at this cast. It's a big cast. I have a theory that, and no one's going to say, oh yeah, sure, yeah. I think, and this is true because I forgot what other movie. It's in my head now. That the actors said, "Oh well, I don't want to cover myself in makeup because no one's going to know who I am, or no one's going to."
Oh,
and out of a vanity reason, and out of all these actors, 90% of these asshole actors or people like Taylor Swift. The same thing. T Swift is such a fucking egotistical bitch, and I'm like thinking that she didn't want that, so maybe CGI me on some dancer's face, and
that's probably the best theory though that I've heard.
I think so. Now granted, the choreography, it wouldn't be able to pull off. I don't want to say no, because
with actual motion capture suits.
Idris Elba is a good dancer, I heard, and Taylor Swift does choreography
because it all looks CG.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I think it was vanity, because even James Corden, I mean, I can't see him dancing, but I mean,
but it makes sense though. Yeah. As an actor, you want people to see your face. That's the benefit of being in a movie. It's part of what makes them their money.
We talked about it. Spider-Man 3. What's his name? Topher Grace. He didn't want to be Venom.
Oh, because he
wanted everyone to see his face, so they like fucking had him without his mask. Sure. And what was the point of Venom without a mask? So I remember that was the first time I was like, "What the fuck? You destroyed a film franchise because you want people to see your face," and so he didn't want to wear the mask all the time. So that's what and it comes down to that. I start thinking maybe these actors didn't want to be. They look ugly with the makeup or whatever, and they just wanted their beautiful faces CGI or superimposed over somebody's face.
Yeah,
because that's what it looks like, superimposition more than CGI.
Well, so that's the problem, and sometimes it doesn't line up. So like you literally have like you have parts of Cat like falling off of the actors. I mean, it's genuinely. It's unfinished, right? Which is embarrassing. I mean, it's just the problem is the biggest problem with the animation is that, because you're trying to show human choreography, right? When you CG over a person, and then you have them, some of the like set pieces are CG, or at least they look like it, because the feet don't really, when you animate over people's feet, right? Regardless of whether or not those are actual people dancing, like the shadows and things like that, like their feet don't line up with the ground.
Yeah.
And so the physics don't make any sense. And so the choreography then isn't impressive at all, even though it's like actually impressive choreography. And most of it is practical. It looks like you CG'd actors into a scene. And so even the group performances aren't impressive because it all looks fake. So you may as well have just animated the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you watch it and it's just such a confusing blend of CG in a way that, again, discredits all of the actual impressive technical elements of the film. And the CG's unfinished and bad, which is a whole nother problem. It looks like a Snapchat filter, genuinely. I know that everybody has like spent a bunch of time dogging on this film. Yeah. It's the butt of every joke. It's
horrible.
And that's because it got released on Christmas, the same day that Star Wars got released, and it's not a finished film, and it's deserving of all the criticism it's got. But I'm saying that like more as just an objective, like a factual, like this movie's unfinished, and it should not have been released in theaters.
Yeah, I agree. It was horrible.
And I know that they spent $1 billion on it or something. They spent like $150 million or something, and then they had to like re-release like re-edited, and you're just like, that's a nightmare. Like and apparently it only made like 15 million worldwide.
Did it? Yeah, I can't even believe it made that much.
And when I initially, before I actually saw the film, I was just kind of like, but maybe people are just dogging it. It's just a total flop. And then you watch it and you're like, oh no, this deserves, because it's every bit as bad as everyone's been talking about, just from an objective standpoint. Somebody in our theater audibly asked, why do they have lips during the film? It's an embarrassment. The music is bad, the concept is bad, the CG is bad, the ratio of cat to human is just wrong. The audio mix is really bad. Like I said, the physics don't make any sense because, again, you just have no context for where a person is in space because of the way it's animated. The performances aren't good. The plot is non-existent. And then you have like Idris Elba, and his whole body's animated, so it's like even if he's a good dancer, it doesn't matter because it looks like they just CG'd his head on an animated body, which he looks atrocious. Like that cat looks terrible in this film. Ian McKellen doesn't know where he is. The scaling actually that's a big problem in this film. The animation wise is they're trying. So you're trying to make a full size human scaled to cat size. So like if they're on steps, or if they're like on a window ledge or something, they're a full sized human. And so it's like the scaling looks, again, and it's partially because the CG is really bad and everything looks fake anyway. And so it reminds me of that scene from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind where Jim Carrey's like the baby under the table. He's wearing a diaper or whatever. And it just looks terrible. But that was a movie from 2004 or something. 2003, and it's like, so you can forgive something like that. And it's kind of a comedy gag, and it's like, it doesn't, but this is the entire film where it's like, the scaling is so embarrassing. Like there's a scene where they're all like running across like a ledge, and it just looks, it looks like they just animated people into, and it just is, it's atrocious. So I don't know, man. It's deserving of all the criticism that it got, and it was like not even fun to make fun of. Yeah. So don't go see Cats, even ironically. It's not worth your time. Because you could see Uncut Gems, you could see there's so many other movies you could go see right now. So that brings us to Child's Play, which you saw.
So we saw it this weekend. Came out last year, this is, and I think we've discussed remaking good films that you don't need to remake. And I will
say, Child's Play, though, considered to be a good film? The original Child's Play? I mean, it's definitely a cult classic, and people love the franchise.
It's funny because, me, I'm horror based. My forte is horror film, and
it would definitely be considered.
I love Child's Play. And here's where everyone's going to laugh. So we saw it, and I got it for Gloriana for Christmas because she bought me, and I think everybody said she bought me a Fire Stick that doesn't work. And she bought the Fire Stick to watch Child's Play without us having to go see it in theaters because at the time we were broke. And I love her for it. But every time we played Child's Play and it showed the new cover, it would just play the 1988 classic. Right, and I thought that was funny. So we finally watched it, and believe it or not, I mean, it got horrible reviews. Everybody hated it because, of course,
it did okay. I mean, it didn't get like a positive score. I think it may have actually gotten a positive score on Rotten Tomatoes, though. But like a 64%.
It was mixed. And I saw it, and it's funny because we started watching it, and the day before we watched Hairspray live, because we've been watching all the live shows that they've been showing on NBC, ABC. And she, oh my God, she hated it. It was so cringy. And she literally was like angry. She wanted to throw. Wow. And that's how bad that Hairspray was. It was. Yeah. But it's like watching this, she was like started out angry because, that's not the Chucky we know and love. And she's right. The Chucky is different. It's better. I don't want to say better animated, but it was creepier what they did with the doll. And I'll be honest, I really, really liked it. It was interesting. It was gory. Very gory.
It looks gory.
Yeah, it's very gory, which the first one wasn't as much. The storyline is basically the same, but updated. The kid is not a little kid like in the original. Andy was like 6 or 7. In this film, he's a teenager. He has a mental deformity, a physical deformity, which doesn't really get played up much. He's deaf in one ear. And the reason why it only comes up is because when
It's just like for one plot point.
yeah, because when
I hate things like that in movies though. Like
because it's never an issue where he like, oh, I didn't hear you, that kind of thing. It's just-
exactly, yeah. It doesn't exist scene to scene. It just exists for the one
for a
scene
plot
where
point.
the script
And-
needs something to happen.
And being that it's updated, this Chucky's just not a doll with a possessed soul. This Chucky, and it's kind of stereotypically racist, but you see the production in Vietnam. They're building them in Vietnam. And, one guy's like just staring off. He's older gentleman. He looks like he's like 50, 60 years old. He's staring off in the world. And then, some like really assholes like yelling at him in Vietnamese saying, you're worthless. You're always daydreaming. You're an old man. Like he just puts him down. And what he does is like, as he walks away, he encrypts the chip, the computer chip, and overrides everything, language, and there's actually one thing that pops up that
Sounds
says
super campy. I love it.
It is, and then it said not evil but devil mode, and and then he puts it in the doll.
That's really
it's
goofy.
shipped off.
It's literally called devil mode.
Well,
in
it was
the
something
movie.
like, I swear to God, it's something like that. I forgot exactly. And then as you see it being shipped, the box is a little damaged, and as it gets into there's a shot of inside the truck as they put the crate thing. The guy jumps off the building and kills himself.
Oh damn!
And as soon as that happens, the eyes of the Chucky go red, and then that's it, right?
That's
and
so fun. Is that the opener?
that's how it opens.
That's fun. I
So,
need to see this. Yeah, this
you got to
sounds fun.
see it, and then it's like
Don't spoil much.
No,
Don't spoil
I'm not. But
anything.
that's just the opening. So to make a long story, the kid gets the gift. Aubrey Plaza plays his mom, and it's a little bit there. Like they're not rich, even though I don't know how they live in that apartment. But
Yeah, it's like one of those like with floor to ceiling windows on every side.
it's just
like all brick.
It's like they show the apartment from outside looks like a shitty neighborhood. The hallways look shitty, but inside the apartment's nice.
Do you remember Get Out? His apartment where you're like, there's no way a photographer can afford that place.
Yeah. And she works at a Zed Mart, and I'm like, wow. But anyway, so yeah, she ends up
That's hilarious. I love that though in movies where it just is like all the details of the film are just completely not thought out.
And
it's great.
And this is all the setup, and to end and any type of so somebody returns the bad Chucky, even tells her what was wrong with it. But luckily, like they caught it in time, returned it. So she like tells the manager, "Oh, listen, can I get this one? Because what we're gonna do with this? Oh, I'm just gonna send it back. They're gonna trash it. So can I get it?" So she gives it to her son, just like in the original film. But he's older, so he's like, "I don't. What do I want this for?" But like I said, the device in his ear when he syncs up the Chucky. Oh, that's the other cool thing. Like with these dolls, you can sync it up on your phone and make
Yeah.
And he syncs it up, and like he gets that ring in his ear, and we know that that's like why he has the thing because later that plays a part of the film. But anyway, this Chucky's voiced not by oh my God, what's his name? Oh God,
I don't know.
I love him, but this is voiced by Mark Hamill.
Which is actually a great choice.
It is because he's the greatest voice actor in the world.
Yeah.
The Joker is one of my favorite characters because of him.
Yeah.
But it's I kept saying, I'm going to hear this Joker voice in the movie. But he does it nice. It's kind of subtle. Like there's some twinges where you say, "Oh yeah, there's Mark Hamill," but if not, it sounds like
Yeah,
like,
he embodies vocally the role.
And the good thing about
dude's
this,
really
and I will
talented.
say this about the puppet, or the doll, like in the film, it's done with classic puppetry. Back then how they did a stop motion animation with Chucky in the original. This one they just do it, like the facial expressions, and I know I mentioned this in the not last show, the show before that, Magic, the film with Richard Attenborough. Fats and Chucky are almost like they did it perfectly because they did that, with practical effects. And it looks really good. Where he even says, "Kid says, look creepier," and they do the face, and I laugh. But that's where the plot from the original and this one end. Basically, it's technology goes amok, and Tim Matheson's in the film. He plays like the creator of the. I think it's called Cassian is the name of the company that runs everything, and he's in the movie only on a screen talking about it. I'm like, and he got like third or fourth billing, and I'm like, really? But that's it. And then I won't go into spoilers, as you know, Chucky, But here's one thing I will say, and you need to see this movie because I know you dig this. And this is where it turned the tide for everyone who watched this. It was me, Gloriana, Emma, her friends. It was the fact that Chucky, we're going to cut to the Joker now. Chucky's almost sympathetic because he becomes what he becomes because of other people's actions.
Interesting. There's a moral lesson at the core.
I swear to God, it's like when I saw that, that's what Gloriana says. Gloriana says, "Oh, why are they hurting?"
So he's not just evil.
Even though the God mode or devil mode was reactivated, it only happens because, and that was the doll supposedly learns your routine. In the commercial at the beginning, little boys go to school, and he says, "Tommy, you forgot your science book." So he learns your routine every day. So there's a great thing, and I'll say this about.
I like this. This sounds fun.
You got to check it. So he meets new kids in the apartment building, which his mom says, "Oh, go out. I know you're deaf or whatever in one ear, but go out and make friends." So he meets these like really asshole kids and a girl who's like very snotty, but she's cool, and then the kid who's like just a doofus fat kid. But they're watching like gory horror films. And you see Chucky seeing that the kid's having a good time. And
That's fun.
And his thing is, I want to make you happy. We need to be friends. We're having fun. And he's watching Texas Chainsaw and they're watching Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2 and his eyes are. So I thought,
that's a really interesting
Exactly. Premise. And it's not that he's like,
exactly.
So this is why Child's Play 2019. I like the movie a lot. I really like all the shit people talked about
it.
Good
to know. See, but I also like Simon Barrett, who wrote The Guest, and your next put it on his top 10 list. So it's hard because like general critics don't always like genre films, so it's hard to know if. It looks like a Happy Death Day kind of like territory of quality level.
And the gore.
Where it's well made and it's it's kind of goofy and it knows it and it's not trying to be anything spectacular.
And that's why I love this movie. It's like, it does know it. And it is, you do have a good, I loved it. And by the end of the movie, Gloriana loved it. She was laughing and she was like, oh my God, this is so good. Because she didn't want to like it. Like my friend Jennifer, which I'm going to bust her chops tomorrow, she said, oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I'm going to tell you, you didn't catch the point of the movie. It's the original is the basis for the film, but it's so much more, and it's really fun.
It kind of has a modern spin to it, but it's also self-aware.
Exactly. So I recommend Child's Play 2019.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out because it looked fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why I didn't see it in the theater. Joker was out then. So it was
Joker came out in October. That came in October.
So I was watching that. I watched that 2 or 3 times. So yeah, I don't know, but I'll definitely see it though.
Yeah.
What's next? 1917, which I saw like 2 days ago. It's still fresh.
Oh, okay.
Which is
the movie that's going to win Best Picture, everybody.
Well, so I don't think that's a bad thing, actually.
No, not at all.
So, and that's I felt like it. Well, this movie looked impressive from the first trailer I saw because Roger Deakins is the star here, but it's
nice.
It's essentially the story of a soldier in World War I or 2 soldiers in World War I that have to. They find out that this army that they have, and I don't know anything about World War I, so I don't know if this is a true story. I apologize if I butcher any of the elements of this.
From what I heard, it's based on true
Interesting. Story. So they're about basically the side that's losing in World War I is on the retreat, and so this general is basically chasing after them, and they're walking. The reason that they're retreating is because they're planning an attack. And so they're essentially retreating to regroup and then take out the winning or the side that's winning currently. Is the basic synopsis of what's happening in this war. Mm-hmm. So these 2 soldiers are basically tasked with delivering the message of the trap to the general that's about to attack the retreating side. And the general is actually played by imitation game Sherlock Holmes.
Got better to Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Cumberbund. Yeah, Cumberbund plays the general. So Cumberbund's army is about to attack, and these soldiers are sent to basically deliver a message to him and say that you shouldn't attack because it's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
And what proceeds is essentially, and it's all done. So the way it's shot, which is important, and it's definitely a talking point. I think is that it's done it's done to look like one take, the whole film. Yeah. But it's each individual sequence is one take. Actually one take. But then like it's basically like each scene is one take, and it's all done in oneers, which is just outstanding. Mm-hmm. But the whole, it's not like I feel like this movie was pitched wrong in the concept in that concept. Or I'm fumbling over my words because I'm tired. I feel like they pitched it as like this whole movie was like a rope style. This movie was done in one take, and it wasn't. And I don't think the movie was ever like, it's, you know how Birdman is all done in one take, or it's like kind of, it's that gimmick. It's like, that's impressive enough. I don't need the whole movie. It's like, it doesn't make any sense for a movie to be shot all in one take.
That would be nice. What are you talking about?
Like, it's like I told Marissa at the end, it was like, if it was all shot actually in one take, it would all take place in one little camp. There's no way that you would have the scope that this movie has with like actual one take. But each scene being in one take, though, certainly changes the whole dynamic of the film in the way that like Uncut Gems, like you follow Adam Sandler around, that's shot differently. This is a lot more like smooth and a lot of like more like Steadicam work type shots where like they're following behind or in front of the actors as they move through the tunnels of World War I, all the trenches. And it's just, again, like, I mean, Roger Deakins is one of the greatest working cinematographers. I mean, he's the greatest. I don't think anyone compares. I mean, I don't think, I mean, you know, if you look at that dude's catalog, all the Coen Brothers stuff and even just, I mean, Skyfall with Sam Mendes, like he's just like, and that's just one of 40 films that dude's made that are he's made some of the most beautiful images that I've ever seen on screen. Like the assassination of Jesse James, the train sequence is one of the most memorable things I've ever seen in cinema. I mean, and he's done that so many times. No Country for Old Men. Like, I mean, it's just, there's all these just out. He's one of the best, if not the best. And his work here might be better than everything he's ever done. Like, it's just on a technical level. Like in the way they design the sets, so like the trenches, the camera will be like following the two of them, and they're like talking to one another, like while running, and like he's like turning around and having a conversation with the guy behind him, basically while they're running, and the camera's following him. And then they'll build the trench so that it comes to a divide and the camera will move to the right side as they go to the left. Like it'll like pan around them and then be in the front of them. So it's like the sets are designed in a way that's really interesting. Just from I don't know, you're watching and you're like, oh shit, now they're like mid shot or mid scene, the camera like moves physically around the actors as they're running through a trench with a ton of other just like extras and stuff moving through. And that's impressive. My stomach's like,
I actually heard that.
Probably hear it on mic.
I did.
It's rumbling. I'm hungry. Anytime I run on like 4 hours of sleep, I get super hungry.
Sure.
But yeah, so I mean, and then there's, so again, I feel like every scene, there's a moment that's visually breathtaking. I mean, and it's, but the biggest compliment of it is that all of the cinematography, I feel like, enhances the story as well. I don't feel like it's just a one, like Birdman. I like that it feels like you're there, like you know, and that's enjoyable about Birdman, but it still feels a little showy. I don't love that film. I don't know. I mean, it's a good. I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
But like, you don't need to do that movie in one take. I do think it probably elevates that material, but not the way that Roger Deakins cinematography does in 1917, where it immerses you in essentially a day in the life. Like the film opens with the two lead characters waking up, and then getting just immediately just getting up and going to their commanding officer who sends them on their mission. And so you're just following kind of a day in the life of a soldier. And the camera style, I feel like complements that story and it makes it more exciting and more immersive. It actually kind of, the way it's shot reminds me a little bit of, I actually didn't write this in my notes. It's something I'm just now thinking of. It was a film that was shot like in 4:3, and it was a Nazi Germany. It was like a film in a concentration camp. It came out like 2 years ago. It got like 100% Rotten Tomatoes, and no one saw it. And it's shot all from the back side of the lead character. So and the frame is like in 4:3, so he takes up most of the frame for the entire film. And you feel like you're like looking over his shoulder the whole time. And that's what makes it so, that film is just incredible in that way. And there's a lot to 1917 that reminds me of that. And I feel like he may have, I don't know if that's where he borrowed kind of the visual style from, at least for a lot of like the following shots and just the way that it's framed reminds me a lot of that. It's not in 4:3 though. It's in like 2:3:5 or something. Yeah. But it's just, there's a sequence at night that, and you've seen it in the trailer probably. And I think they lit with like a couple thousand lights or something, and it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen on screen. I mean, it's just from a cinematography perspective, it's one of those things that like it's unbelievable that the set that they used exists somewhere. I don't know where they shot this thing, and they may have built that set. If they did, that's amazing. But like, you saw Anima, right? The scene where he's running through and like there's all the projections on the walls. This reminds me of that, but it's so much more impressive. It's like just on another level, and it's exciting, intense, and it's, I mean, the cinematography, like I said, I mean, Roger Deakins is the star of this film. Sam Mendes, though, I think it's really well just directed. Again, like I don't know how you make this film. Yeah. I don't know how, like that scene that I just described, like but that's just one of like five exceptional, extraordinary visual sequences that elevate the action. But I do think like there's still a really good story here between these two soldiers, and it has like this massive scope, but it still tells a really personal story about these two soldiers that are that have like a specific task that's very important. I was really blown away, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. But I did see it 2 days ago, so I'm kind of like riding that high. But I'm telling you, man, it's certainly. I know I've said this 10 times this year. It's certainly one of the best films of the year. I think it's absolutely deserving of Best Picture. I don't know that it's the one I would give the award to because, again, like Uncut Gems is so special also. But I do feel like 1917 is one of those like 1 in 20 year kind of films where it's like Saving Private Ryan, where it's just like, I can't believe it, or Dunkirk is kind of like that too, where just the scope of it and the production is so impressive on screen that we just don't get movies like this. We get one a year maybe. But I mean, this is special.
Well, I mean, if we go by the algorithm, it won Best Director and Best Picture at the Globe. So most likely it'll be nominated the same.
It's already been nominated for. It's been nominated for Best Picture.
The Oscar did it already. So most likely it'll be win. Was he nominated for Best Director?
I think so.
So it's a shoe-in,
and it's deserving of. And Roger Deakins absolutely will win for cinematography, just because it gets again like just the. It's like when you watch like some of those battle sequences in Game of Thrones, and you're just like, I can't believe that there's this many people here on screen. And you think about the production of that and the scope of that, and what this accomplishes is, I mean, it's like it puts Saving Private Ryan to shame. Like it's. I don't know, man. I just was blown away by it, but it's also there's some really shocking elements to the story, and again some great The lead two actors are absolutely outstanding.
They are amazing.
Like they're also the lead one is I think deserving of an award. But yeah, I mean it's a really impressive technical achievement, and I think if we're talking about, and we'll get to the Oscars more later, but I feel like if we're talking about like the movies that we'll talk about 10 years from now, that's I think what the Best Picture category should be. They always get things wrong, like we'll talk about later. But I feel like 1917 or Uncut Gems, I feel like these are movies that we'll be talking about 10 years from now. And 19, I mean, I just was really impressed, and I expected to be impressed, but it was especially the story. I feel like I was surprised by some of the elements of it and how engaged I was in it, not just in the visual aspect of it, but that does elevate it in a way that I didn't expect.
And I think we talked about this. I mean, it's the only trailer that I think, like when we go to the movies, I mean, Gloriana hates trailers, but she saw it, and the way the trailer was edited, it made her want to see this film. And this is a 15-year-old girl, and I can't wait. She actually wants to see it with me, so I think we might go next week.
This is the movie to go see on the big screen.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
It's one of those movies that's beautiful to look at, but it's also like it's devastating, and it's brutal. It's very violent at times, and it doesn't hold back. So it's like good in the way that like the best war films are, in terms of just kind of showing it how it is, to some degree. And that's devastating and hard to watch at times, but that's also, I think, what makes this movie work. Right. So I was really impressed. I don't know. Again, the hard part is like, I saw this 2 days ago, so I don't know like in a month. I don't know how I'll feel about it. But it's certainly deserving of a Best Picture nomination, and it's certainly like that caliber of film, just on a technical level alone. But I do think that's not all it has to offer.
Yeah, no,
and that's the main point I want to make that I've been kind of rambling about. So yeah, it's outstanding. What's next on Star Wars?
I
saved that for last because we've both seen it. We both seen it. So that like a Midwesterner. My friends all give me shit for that. So Star Wars Episode 9, I'll let you do the, we're going to do spoilers for this. So if you haven't, I mean, it's been out for a month, but still
So let's get into the Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalkers. No,
I can never remember the title of this movie.
Rise of Skywalker, which doesn't make sense when you think about it. But anyway, so the point of the film, this is the last of the saga with the Skywalker. It's called the Skywalker.
Saga.
Quint, what do you call 9? Nept trilogy. But anyway, to make a long story short, we pick up again. The rebels are still fighting the good fight against the First Order. And Rey is still searching for who she is. She's been training with Leia, Princess Leia, or General Leia now, as a Jedi. And we find out that something bad is happening, and there's an evil within the Force. Well, I guess you could say in the end it is with the Force.
We're doing spoilers, so
we find out that Palpatine, as you see in the trailer, has been resurrected somehow, which we can get into.
Do they even explain what caused that?
And again, I hate saying this because I hate being that asshole who does this all the time. Disney decided to say nothing happened before we took over the thing, so all the stories, all the comics, all the video games don't matter. But yet, you find out that it does, because when Darth Vader threw Palpatine in Revenge of the Jedi down that chute thingy on Endor.
And killed him.
And supposedly killed someone who is the most powerful Sith in the whole wide world. He is taken by his acolytes, which you could only find out in comic books and books, who then take him and have been resurrecting little by little by using what was left of the Force. Now, being that we find out that Luke tried to do the Jedis again, that's where they were feeding. He was being fed off by the Force of the Jedis, but then when Kylo Ren fucked everything up and he was using the Sith, so he needed the most powerful Jedi to resurrect him. That's just background story. We don't see this in the movie, but that's how he's been kept alive. His acolytes have been keeping him going by using whatever remnants of the Force they can. So, and that's why I hate Disney for lying and talking so much shit. And we can get to Mandalorian later. But anyway, so we find out that Rey is we find out Palpatine's granddaughter.
Yeah.
And that was a big reveal. I like that reveal. I actually dug it.
Interesting.
Because I didn't want it to be where she was Luke's daughter.
That's fair.
And
I don't think you needed any of that.
Yeah,
I think what Rian Johnson did was more interesting. But
I agree. I love The Last Jedi. I don't give a shit about what people say about Rian Johnson. And I think that J.J. Abrams actually did fine by bringing it back around. Not that he had to redo anything that Rian Johnson did, because he doesn't. He never undid anything he did. The only thing that everyone's crying about is that Kylo said, "Oh, your family was just a bunch of junk traders." He just did that to throw her off, to make her go over to his side.
I like the idea though that maybe she was not special, and her power. I don't know. I like the concept that like just a normal person could be powerful. That's what I love about Force Awakens, and that's what I also like about Last Jedi. And not that you needed to go in that direction, because that's like a plot point. You can go either way, right? But it felt like they needed some kind of reveal. And I know that it needed to be a big reveal, I guess, because this is pretty crucial to that character. So I know that it's not, I think it's earned, but I don't know. I just didn't really care.
You didn't care that she was popular, or you didn't care for the film because of that?
But we can get to that more.
Yeah, go on. Then go speak then, bro.
No,
there's no more to the story than that.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, the only go on. Yeah,
I'm trying to think what else happens with this movie. I don't remember much.
Well, the stupid thing that I didn't like.
I mean, a lot of stuff happens.
Was the Kylo Ren's Force Ghost, which was Han Solo, which everybody was pissed because if you've seen the little memes, they've re-put Anakin in there. But I mean, Han Solo showing up, that was a big surprise. I didn't think Harrison Ford would do another film. He killed himself off in Force Awakens because he didn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And
I guess they gave him $1 billion today just being, which was stupid because you could have got Hayden Christensen for $5 to come back as Anakin, and it would have made more sense as your Force Ghost, because everyone's Force Ghost has been their trainer or the person within their lineage that they've were modeling themselves after.
Was Kylo Ren trained by Darth Vader though?
No, but
Hayden Christensen was.
Hayden Christensen was his grandfather. He was trained by his uncle and well, actually, yeah, because his father, whatever. But I mean, it's the Skywalker blood. So why would Han Solo show up? You know what I mean? It's like, even though he killed Han Solo, that's what's haunted him forever. But still, I think Hayden Christensen would have been better, or even Luke. But but anyway, that was the thing I didn't dig about the Force Ghost. Other than that, I didn't mind it. I like the Palpatine big reveal. It would make sense because she's that strong, but we don't know why, and she doesn't know why, and even the Jedi don't know why, because they were like, well, her lineage is not a Jedi lineage, so what's going on? So it goes in what you wanted, just as nobody, but then we find out that she wasn't nobody all along. She's like the heir to the throne of evil. But being that she was raised not raised, but joined with these good people, she ended up becoming a Jedi Sith, which is kind of cool. But I liked it a lot. I mean, I didn't love it. I mean, I didn't like no films compared to Empire Strikes Back or
well, certainly.
But
I don't think that was ever my expectation.
Yeah, no. But I liked it a lot. I mean, I know it sounds like you didn't like it as much as I did.
Well, I like a lot of things about it. Right? It looks great. I mean, moves. It's never like. There's always something happening, and it's usually good to look at, and that's not the worst thing. I think I went into this because I'm a huge fan of Force Awakens. I really like that movie.
Interesting.
I think it's a great coming of age film for the Rey character, but I also think I don't know. I love the characters and the energy of that movie, and it felt different from it was the Abrams energy that kind of I feel like revitalized. And I know a lot of people hate that film, which is stupid, but I do think,
stupid.
I mean, I think objectively it's a really well made film, but I do. And same thing with this. I don't think I don't think this is like worthless by any means.
No.
I think if it were 30 minutes longer, I think it would benefit this movie a lot. Somebody said I didn't write down who said this, so I apologize.
To who said?
To whoever said this, but my only note that I wrote down was. It almost feels like a trilogy without a second act. And I feel that about the trilogy, but also the movie and every film in this trilogy. Now that I think about it,
it's interesting. Yeah.
Because they're all like a little too short. All of them could dive in a little deeper, and I think, and we'll talk about Mandalorian in a second, but that's my biggest compliment to Mandalorian is that I feel like you have more time with just the characters in the world, and it builds a better world because you just, I don't know, but the pacing is very different for that kind of movie.
We'll get, that's not, but again, it's because of how I started off this whole speech. You have a company who bought someone else's company for billions of dollars, and you have a rich backstory, and I'm not sure how you feel about that. Like with Marvel too, like you don't have to know about the comic book history, but it's good to know.
Yeah. And especially if you're an executive producer at Disney Studios, you're going to want to know about some of the Star Wars lore.
Exactly, and for them to say, "Oh well, you know what? For whatever reason, we're not going to have anything to do with it." But then, as you're going along clunkingly, say, "Oh wait, no, we do need backstory." So then, unofficially say, "Hey, well, you could read this if you want, but don't. It's not part of it, but it is." And I think that's what I hated about Disney's backpedaling, and
they're kind of pulling details.
Yeah, you need to know. You need to know backstory. You need to know comic book, novels, video games. You need to know all that to enjoy these. Now, granted, the novels, video games, and comic books are Disney now.
See, but I think I think Force Awakens, though, I feel like I enjoyed that with none of that knowledge. I feel like that worked as a movie because you spend a lot of time. Like the Finn character is really great, and I like Finn, and even Poe. Like I like that relationship. And I like just the way that Rey and Finn interact. Yeah. It felt like a fun adventure movie, and it's not I don't think it's like some exceptional. Like it doesn't take me to places that I never expected, But it's really fun. It's fun and it has this great energy to it, and all the characters are incredibly likable, and it felt fresh for the first time. Star Wars hasn't felt fresh in forever. Yeah. And then Last Jedi happened, and it still felt fresh, but like I feel like plot started to kind of. They didn't know what to do with certain characters for sure.
Agreed.
But overall, I was really impressed by the look of it and the sheer production value. And then with this one, I feel like, and maybe I made a mistake of not going back and watching the Force Awakens and Last Jedi again before seeing this, which is a big mistake, I think, because I felt like I was. it's like when you watch a TV show, you watch the second season of a TV show after taking a year break and you don't care about anything that's happening and then you really don't like it all of a sudden.
I got you. Yeah.
That's exactly the feeling I had where I was just kind of like, I don't really care about any of this anymore. I feel like Last Jedi was like kind of a decent conclusion to, I mean, I know that there's a certain story elements that we needed to finish. I get that, but I don't know that you needed a whole nother movie. Or you needed more filling. You needed something more at the center of this, and that's what I think the quote that I just said. Like I think a lot of stuff happens, but none of it feels interesting. I like started falling asleep during the Palpatine fight at the end. It's like I don't really care about any of this. Like, and some of it's interesting. Like just to see Palpatine on screen again.
Yeah, that was good.
Is interesting, but it doesn't mean that it's compelling from a story standpoint. I just was not engaged at all. I felt like I was watching it more objectively, and I didn't feel that with Last Jedi and with Force Awakens. I feel like it felt to some degree like there was 30 minutes cut out that we could have used.
And I agree with that. I mean, you know,
and Abrams did say that, though, to be fair. So this is something that's on record.
Well, I guess on Blu-ray we'll see it. But I mean,
maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, because I do think there isn't a lot of emotional weight to anything that's happening unless you've been watching the other movies, I guess. Like the movie doesn't stand on its own as like a good film from a story standpoint. Like I don't think a lot of these characters are, if anything, just like footnotes. Like they like, I know that some of it is because they're trying to like undo what Rian Johnson did. But I don't
think they did do a good. I mean, I'm not saying because, like I said, I think the only thing they try to undo.
I just mean the criticisms.
Yeah,
not so much
okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, I was going to say
like the Finn and what's her name? The one that
Rose.
Rose, yeah. Like that. I mean,
they undid that. Yeah,
she has one line in this movie, and you're like, so there's just like certain and I don't really care about it like that. You know, this movie has 40 characters, and they're trying to resolve. They're trying to make this. I think this is the exact problem with it is they're trying to make this the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be. It's not going to be the last Star Wars movie. It may be the last in this story.
In the story, yeah, but that's
but they'll just pick up 100 years later and have some other battle.
Legacy's a good
so it's
story.
like, you know, I have no problem with like ending this group of characters. Like, we don't need more Skywalker shit. Like
and I think that's what we were going to segue to before, and I think we should cut out all that other stuff if we got all this time. But segue into the Mandalorian, we pick up now, and we assume we still don't know timeline wise. We do know that if Rosario Dawson's trying to be Osaka Tona, then we know that it's got to be at least 20-something or 30 years after or close by. And I love. Let me tell you, The Mandalorian I think is amazing. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. I think
really like it
as a Western. It's an amazing Western to me. I see it as a Western.
I'm going to rearrange this, and we'll just get right into that because
it does. We should cut all that other stuff because we got to do Oscar stuff. Yeah. But I'm just saying, The Mandalorian is amazing. The way it's shot, the way it's directed, the writing's amazing. Even Baby Yoda is not even daunting, which I thought I would like be sick of that character. I actually think it's cute.
I think that's the cutest character in the Star Wars universe.
Serious,
it's the perfect design.
It is.
I don't know. But
the ending, and you talk about lore and backstory. To watch The Mandalorian, you need to know everything about the Mandalorians, and that means comic books and movies, and the whole thing with the. Are we giving spoilers for Mandalorian?
Oh yes, yeah, we're spoiler
so
territory.
So the last fucking scene, which is so fucking amazing and made me jizz in my pants, is the black saber. And for the Moff Gideon to have this black saber, you have to know about how the black saber came about and how the Jedis and the Mandalorians interact with each other back in the past in the old Republic. And I'm just like, it made me so excited just to know that they're bringing this whole thing here. And it's just a great show. It's a Western. Like, if anything, it's like I was thinking about Once Upon a Time in the West. I was like, I got to watch this movie again.
You're talking about Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian, yeah.
For sure.
We're talking about Mandalorian. It's well done.
Well, I still want to talk more about whatever the last movie for Star Wars is called.
Then what do you want to know?
So we can get End of the Skywalker.
It's the Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker.
I do really hate that scene where somebody asks her name at the end. I forget exactly how. I really don't like this movie, and I don't remember it. It's like
I saw you started out saying all right, and now you're saying no, you don't like it.
I don't like. I do think there's a lot of good in it. I'm not saying this from a snobby standpoint. It just didn't work for me. Like it didn't work on an emotional level.
Because you said you didn't see the other two before. So if you go see the other two before, you think you'll like it.
And then revisit this. Actually, that's what I said when we walked out. I was like, I really think I need to go back and watch those and then just watch it all in like a binge kind of way.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't care about anything. And the hard part about not caring about anything is you start like stuff becomes really campy. So like the scene with Harrison Ford, I was just kind of like, it was nice to see Harrison Ford, but then I was like, we haven't, like, I thought we solved this already. It's kind of how I felt the whole movie, where I was just like, you're still dealing with your father. I get it, but I don't know. I just didn't care.
That's why
because it's been so long.
It's
been so long since I'd cared about these characters and what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so, especially like because there wasn't a ton of time, because this movie is just, there's 4,000 things that they had to have happen in this movie. You know what it reminds me of is Avengers 2: Age of Ultron, which has a ton of ideas.
Yeah.
And it has to accomplish a ton of stuff because it's like the end of this chapter and they're moving on to phase 3 or whatever it was at that point. And a bunch of stuff has to happen. Like just objectively, like Marvel Studios is like, these things have to happen. Go make a movie, right? Sorry. And without it being 3.5 hours long, right? And I understand why, from a standpoint of like I think Endgame, the only thing that hurt Endgame was the running time, if anything. But that's also what makes it a great film.
Yeah, I love
because it gives us the time we need with all these characters in order to make the conclusion to 30 film or 20 however many movies satisfying. And I think it does that effectively. Like we get in a lot of time with all of the Avengers in the film, and then the conclusions to all these storylines feel satisfying. And I feel like with this movie, I think we have enough time with like Rey, but even everything just feels rushed. And I know that's a hot take. I know that everybody said that. But again, it feels rushed because I think they cut out 30 to 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost not a fault to the film. And that's where the stance I'm taking on it, which is just like, I don't necessarily fault the movie because I think there's a better version out there with all the stuff that was cut that makes it's like the second act. It's like, and maybe not of the whole movie, but definitely of a lot of characters. I feel like there's all this stuff that got cut out of the middle that makes it emotionally impactful. So I just didn't care. Yeah, I just didn't care about anything. So like at the end when she's like, I think how exactly does the scene unfold? I think somebody asked. She goes to Tatooine.
No, it's Endor.
Is it Endor?
Yeah, the Citadel is under Endor because that's where he was.
Luke's place, where Luke grew up. Isn't that Tatooine?
You mean all the way at the end?
At the very end.
Yes. Okay, Tatooine.
And
I'm sorry.
And she says Skywalker or whatever, and then it cuts to black. It's just like, I know that's where it needed to end, but I was just kind of like, ugh. I don't know, man. I just didn't care about anything, and so I was just kind of like, and you kind of saw where the bullet points were happening because I was I wasn't invested emotionally at all. So the film just kind of happened for me, and so I was just kind of like, oh yeah, and there's the Skywalker tag that you have to have. Oh, there's Harrison Ford. We have to see him again. Oh, there's. I just was like, rather than being like, oh man, Harrison Ford. Oh, this is exciting. I was like, I don't care. And like, I know exactly what this scene is. And then because I just didn't feel like anything earned anything. I don't feel like any of the resolutions, any of these storylines, like were actually earned. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling at this point, but
yeah.
I think I've made my point.
So I guess, can we segue to Mandalorian?
The key reason Mandalorian works for me is because it goes back to basics about what Star Wars is good at, which is building worlds and just it's because essentially Star Wars is just a sci-fi action adventure film, right? That's what it is. And Mandalorian, what works so well about that is that each episode is just kind of this isolated story, like when he goes to help the village from that AT-AT or not AT-AT, I forget what they're called, the little 2 feet walker things.
The ATST.
ATST, which is I know that's a spoiler. We're doing spoilers though.
Yeah, we saw spoilers. I ended the film.
Yeah, but I like that that's just kind of a self-contained episode.
Yeah.
And I haven't finished The Witcher, so it was on our list. I cut it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so we'll talk about when I see it.
But that's something I love about The Witcher too. Is that like each episode, just to some degree, feels like an assignment. And there's still an overarching story, but I do like that. It's just like it works on just the level of like we're just hanging out, watching them do cool stuff for an episode. It doesn't have to be. It's actually what I also like about Solo. Solo felt like that to some degree. Now, the stuff I don't like about Solo is when they're trying to tie it into all the other bullshit. Like it's like just make an action adventure film that works.
Yeah.
And it'll be more effective and more interesting than trying to tie all these story threads together so that, and that's the problem with the.
And it's interesting that you brought up Solo because Solo has the Rebels cartoon. It has an ending that you have to watch the Rebels cartoon to watch. So it's because of Darth Maul.
I don't think you have to though, because I do think.
Oh, you got to see why is Darth Maul in this?
Well, you have to know who Darth Maul is. Yeah. But I thought that was fun. But I think Solo doesn't work where it tries to not be what it is. And Mandalorian is just accepting what it is.
Exactly.
And it's just like this is just it's a small scale action adventure film or series. And it's effective because you spend a lot of time with these characters, and I love like you even have like characters come in and out. Like Bill Burr is in an episode. That's actually my favorite episode of the whole show because it's this self-contained little. Just like it's a heist episode, and it's like that's all it is. It doesn't have to be like it has nothing to do with anything else that's happening in the universe. They're just going to steal or to break this person out of prison, basically, and that's a fun episode.
Yeah, it was.
And I think that's what Star Wars is good at is just I don't know, you're just like little missions like I don't know when they go to save Leia in episode 4. Is it 4? Yeah.
Episode 1, but
the first movie.
Yeah, New Hope.
Like that's what the prison escape sequence reminds me of that. Like it's all interior,
that was a lot.
But it's designed in a way that's really visually interesting, and it's just you're just like watching these characters kind of banter, and it works for that reason.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's just it's frustrating to watch something like The Mandalorian and be more invested in it, and then go watch the thing that's supposed to be more important and be just like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's also a compliment to Mandalorian. I think it's very good, and I would love to see more things like rather than another whole series of Star Wars films. Like, just give us these little. Like, I love the concept of just having like just a little story of a character that exists in a Star Wars world. Because that's compelling enough.
Yeah, I think The Mandalorian is better than Rise of Skywalker, but
absolutely.
But I mean, it's also something different, and I dig it. I like the storylines, like you said. There are standalone episodes, but at the end, you always get back to what the series.
Sure, it's like Burn Notice. Do you ever see Burn Notice?
I never, but I've heard good things.
Like it reminds me of Burn Notice, though, where it's like each episode you get like 5 minutes of the actual overarching plot, and then just like a fun little mission. And it's like I'm okay with it being just that. It doesn't have to be some extraordinary. Because again, I think it's more effective, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is it's just like I care. You don't even see his face until the 8th episode.
Yeah.
And I'm still more invested in that character than I am Rey at this point with the Star Wars, the Rise of the Skywalker.
Rise of the Skywalker.
I got it right. Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't care, and with Mandalorian, I did. I would love to see more of this. I love the main villain, at the end of Mandalorian.
Yes.
You have so many unique, smaller characters too, like the guy that helps, the guy that rides those stupid looking. In Mandalorian,
the Dewbacks, yeah.
Like that's a great character.
Yeah, he was
memorable. I don't even know his name. It is Nick
Nolte.
That's right. It's just like that's a memorable character that you get to spend a lot of time with because there's only three characters in most of the scenes in all the episodes that he's in. Because it's just him, the Mandalorian, and Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
and it's like in each episode, it's kind of like that. Like the girl that comes to help him.
Yeah, she's hot.
And I shouldn't say the girl that comes to help him like that. All these characters have names.
She's cool.
Well, same thing with the Nick Nolte thing. I'm like, it's not. I just.
Oh my god! Now you're gonna make me start doing Mandalorian stuff.
I should know all these characters because I watched entire episodes with them. But at the same time, I'm bad with names and I don't really care. But I do. These characters though are more memorable though. Like I remember these. I don't know. Like they're more fun.
Cara Dune is the girl. Gina Carrero.
And so, like each episode, you get kind of a day player.
Yeah, Carl Weathers was in it.
Carl Weathers is fun in it. Yeah,
Werner Herzog.
And again, like these are like really good performances. And these, I don't know. I like that. I just like how small the scale is in this series. Because it just feels like I don't know, like in Rise of Skywalker, like Kylo Ren like takes off and he's all of a sudden on another planet and you're just like, Jesus Christ, like where are I don't even know. And it's like stuff happens like in 5 minutes they like jump to, it's like in the last season of Game of Thrones where they just like all of a sudden they're in King's Landing and you're like, holy shit, like we're here already. It's like that was a year travel probably. I don't know. So just like the Mandalorian feels like it's like a Western. It's paced like a Western, but in the way that like Westerns are just grounded and kind of they to some degree they kind of meander in their own. Like I don't know. Like it spends time in its cantinas and it's and that's what Star Wars is good at.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, I like the Mandalorian a lot. Let's
we
get
15
it. We got
minutes. We're gonna do the Oscars. So what do you want to do? You want to go by a category, or how do you want to do it?
Well, let's share our overall thoughts about the Oscars. What was your initial reaction to all of the nominees? I'm sure there were things that you didn't like, but overall, I mean, it was fine. I mean, the ones that you're talking off mic, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So, like, the ones that were nominated for Best Picture, I mean, I assume that was like Ford versus Ferrari, though.
Well, yeah. So I think I don't even know where to start. With this because every year this happens, right? Where there's like what 10 nominees this year.
Yeah, I hate that 10 nominee shit.
Because I mean, ultimately, let's just get into Best Picture. Because I mean, it's
Parasite, Once Upon a Time is fine. 1917, of course. Marriage Story, not so much. Little Women, Joker, of course. Jojo Rabbit, of course. Irishman, I guess. And then you have Ford versus Ferrari. I'm like, what the fuck?
So all these movies had above a 90% Rotten Tomatoes, other than Joker.
So is that what you're saying, that they're going by Rotten Tomatoes?
No. Because Joker got like a 60%.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually shocked that Joker got as many nominations as it did, but I do think it's deserving.
It's deserving.
So for me, there's a ton of movies. They got the right ones. Mm-hmm. Uncut Gems should be on this list.
Yeah, well those are snubs.
There's certainly movies that I think are better than movies on this list. Like Midsummer. Midsummer is my like second favorite film of the year. Yeah, but I don't think that should be nominated for Best Picture, right? So I didn't have any expectation about that.
Yeah.
Marriage Story I have not seen yet because I haven't been in the mood to watch it or to cry. But,
that's what I was telling Rhonda.
But it's Noah Baumbach, and I he's a great filmmaker, and Marriage Story does look very good. Now, when we're talking about like how Adam Sandler's performance in Uncut Gems is something we'll talk about in 10 years.
Yeah,
I don't think Marriage Story is that kind of movie.
Yeah, okay. I
just
agree.
In terms of like if you have to pick the most, because that's what I think Best Picture should be, and I know that my definition of it is different from what the Academy is, because Ford versus Ferrari, a film it's got a 95%, maybe it's very good, right? Like I saw, Ron Howard did Rush, right? Which was a very good film, but that should not be it doesn't have the, like 1917 is like a broad
of course.
war film that I think
there.
Anyone can go see.
Yeah.
But like Ford versus Ferrari, if you don't like cars, you're not going to go see that movie.
Who's going to see that?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a terrible. Now, Little Woman is based on that's more fitting of a Best Picture category.
But
I haven't seen it, but Greta Gerwig is a great director.
I know you dig her, but I'm just still I'm like against all these other movies. I mean,
but then you have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is like a movie that we'll talk about forever. And even though I don't know that I think that's like my favorite film of the year or anything. It was on my list,
but I love it. Yeah,
but like that, I mean, that's a movie that like that will be that we'll talk about just the same way we talk about Pulp Fiction.
All Tarantino films we'll talk
it's like
about
that
forever.
Is a unique addition to cinema, and same thing with Parasite. And I think Parasite is the deserving. Parasite or 1917, I think, are the two that I think should win. But I still haven't seen Irishman. Jojo Rabbit is fantastic. I really love that film.
Loved it.
And I don't know that I'm surprised that got nominated, to be honest, though. I didn't think that would get a nomination.
Yeah, me either. And not that there was anything wrong with that. I just thought that they were going to go for big, and they did that.
Now,
but that's
Jojo Rabbit, it's actually a pretty big film in terms of scope. It's actually like its budget's actually like some of the ending sequences are like there's a lot of practical explosions and stuff. It's a pretty big budget film. But I'm still surprised it got nominated though, because it's still to some degree like an independent drama also.
But it goes to show that like the Academy just they did that to say, oh, listen, we're nominating you just so you know, we dig on it. You're not going to win, but, and the same was like.
And I'm okay with that with Jojo Rabbit, but then you have Ford versus Ferrari, which you're just like.
I still don't understand why that's there.
I mean, the Academy members have got to be 80 years old.
Yeah,
at this
definitely.
point.
Most def, yeah.
So that's got to be part of it ultimately. I mean, but you look at it and you go, just if you have to talk about Best Picture, it's like, now, this is the same Academy that nominated Green Book and gave it the award, which is just.
You loved that last, yeah.
I still can't believe that shit. But yeah, it's hard because there's the things that should be on this list, I think, are mostly there aside from Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Now I say that though, and then you have like The Lighthouse is probably better than Ford versus Ferrari, or definitely more interesting and definitely something that we'll talk about forever. Dolemite Is My Name, I think, is better than that.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, not that I thought he'd be nominated, but I thought.
No, by no means. No. But then I don't know. You have. Knives Out it just gets completely snubbed, which I think is a travesty.
Screenplay. They didn't get screenplay.
Then you have The Farewell. Then you have Booksmart. Then you have The Lighthouse. You have Peanut Butter Falcon got totally snubbed. So there's a lot of movies this year that certainly. And then again, you have performances and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But as far as Best Picture goes, like I think the film that got snubbed would be The Farewell, Knives Out. Like, I think those are the two films that I think.
And Uncut Gems.
Yeah. So there's like three films. Now, I don't think any of those films should have won. Uncut Gems is the only one that I think might be one of, like, I have to give it some time because I have to like contextualize all these movies and decide like upon rewatching them many times whether or not like they're the most important thing from 2019. Right. That's a whole different thing. Because we're still like 2019 is still, we haven't had the Oscars for 2019 yet. So, it's hard to contextualize like what will be important to me 10 years from now. But Uncut Gems feels like one of those movies, and so does 1917, and so does The Farewell. Like in terms of, but. And the only reason I'm talking about that, though, is because Ford versus Ferrari is in the category.
I agree with you.
This is the challenge of the Oscars. Is it's like what's there. Most of the movies are pretty deserving on this list.
Almost every movie.
At least even the ones I haven't seen. Like even Ford versus Ferrari, right, is critically was really successful, but it just doesn't feel like the kind of movie that like. And I still have to see it right now. I have to go see it, which is the worst part about all this. Now I'm like, I can't complain about it unless I go see it. I certainly can't. I certainly can't make
I can't see it.
I can't make a confident statement about
whether
or not.
Rush either.
Rush is actually really good, but
I know you said that.
But it's by no means do I talk about Rush ever.
Yeah, why?
And now if you love cars, like Marissa's dad loves cars, I guarantee you he'd love Ford versus Ferrari. And especially because it's a good car movie, right? Yeah. That's fine. Doesn't need like I don't know, man. It's no like in terms of sport movies, right? There's very few.
You say that. Let me check something.
Like maybe Hoosiers. I'm trying to think like
Hoosiers.
But like these are good movies, and some of them are classics, like Field of Dreams, like or League of Our Own. Like there's a lot of really good sport movies, but by no means though are any of them rarely like the best achievement in cinema. Like in a particular year.
Director.
Are you looking at the nominees?
I want to see if Ford versus Ferrari is nominated for a director.
I don't think so. I think it's Martin Scorsese, Tarantino.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but why?
Sam Mendes.
Who
else is in that category?
Oh, it's Bong Joon-ho.
For Parasite.
Tarantino, Mendes, Phillips, and Scorsese. That's it.
Todd. That's the one I was forgetting though. Yeah, Todd Phillips for Joker.
The Joker. Bro.
Yeah, that's a strong category.
That's going to be tough.
A deserving category.
That's going to be tough to pick the director for that one.
And I know everybody's all mad about like the representation and some of that kind of stuff, which is fair. Yeah. But I also like these movies are like that's the hard thing about the Oscars is there's always something that shouldn't be there, and then there's in certain categories though like they got it right this year, which is like now not like you also have Adam Sandler didn't get nominated for
Uncut Gems.
Yeah, exactly right. For Uncut Gems, sorry, my dad texted me. Uncut Gems, and you have like Lupita Nyong'o. I forget how to pronounce her last name. For Us, didn't get nominated.
Yeah, a lot of people.
There's definitely, but like every year, and that's a genre film though. So is Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems is kind of a genre thriller.
Yeah.
Independent thriller that I don't know that a lot of people saw. Now. So you look at that and you go, I didn't expect for Uncut Gems to get nominated for Best Picture. I was hoping Adam Sandler would get nominated for actor, though. And then you have, I don't know. So the hard part is it's like there's always, I guess I'm just tired of the Oscars. I'm just tired of like being mad about it.
Well, I will say this: Brad Pitt's going to win for Best Supporting Actor because if you look at that fucking category list, there's no way in hell.
Who else is in it?
Tom Hanks for Mr. Rogers.
That's
Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes.
I don't even know what The Two Popes is.
Yeah, I know about it. It's stupid. Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and then Brad Pitt. So it's definitely Brad Pitt.
Oh, it's got to be.
Yeah, he won the
Brad
Golden
Pitt's
Globe
outstanding,
too. Yeah.
though. He's great in Once Upon a Time.
I feel bad because I know he already won his Oscar.
He's almost the lead in that movie.
Who?
Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, he is, and that's why I know he's going to win.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas is actor for Pain and Glory, which I never even heard of, but I want to see it now. And then Leo, which unfortunately he's not going to win. Adam Driver, which he's too young, he ain't going to win. Joaquin Phoenix will win, so we're not even worrying about that. Jonathan Pryce, and that's it. So,
but then you have like I don't know, like in the Best Actress category. Now they got something wrong here in the Best Actor. I'm looking at Best Actress right now.
What do they got wrong?
Charlize Theron for Bombshell.
Yeah,
I'm just like
I saw that.
Come on, like Charlize Theron. I think she had a better movie. Wasn't Tully last year?
Which one?
Charlize Theron with Tully.
Oh, Tully. No,
Wasn't
Tully.
that last year? Or was that the year before?
That was the year before. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Because I was just like I don't. But it's like if you're gonna nominate a performance for Charlize Theron, at least do that. I don't know. I like
And
Bombshell just looks like.
If you look at that list, you see that it's going to end up being Renee Zellweger because she won the Golden Globe. But
Yeah.
it's like,
I'd
you said,
love to see
Bombshell.
Cynthia Erivo though in there.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
glad she's nominated. But
Because she's
not gonna win,
outstanding.
But, yeah,
like she's great in everything that she's. I haven't seen Harriet looks okay to be honest, but like she's deserving for like Bad Times at El Royale.
Yeah,
that's her, right?
Yeah, that's her.
And Widows is fucking great.
Widows, yeah.
So she's just. I think that girl is gonna be a star, and I think she's. So I'm excited to see her in that category.
The supporting actresses look interesting, but again, Margot Robbie for Bombshell, Florence Pugh for Little Women,
which I love. I love seeing some Florence Pugh.
Scarlett Johansson, Laura Dern, who probably will win, and then Kathy Bates.
Yeah, I hear that Laura Dern's the favorite. You're talking off mic, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's all good. I'm just doing it for our listener.
Yeah, listeners, can you hear me? So
Our single listener.
Shut up. Animated film. I'm not even going to bother.
So there's a lot of good here, more than usual. I feel like because. But then I don't know. But then there's some stupid shit too.
Like
it's
what?
Give me
stupid shit, bro.
like Charlize Theron and Bombshell, because you're like Lupita Nyong'o. And again, I'm sorry if I butcher the name.
You're saying it right. And she should have been. Yeah.
Like you look at that and you go like that. She's so good in Us, and I know the film critics that vote for the Academy didn't see Us, which is the main problem.
Yeah.
But still, it's just like so. It's frustrating, but it's also
Adapted screenplay is good.
Not surprising.
I think Tarantino's a shoo-in for it, but most likely they might.
I love seeing Scarlett Johansson for Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit, which is I think she made that film for me. Although I hear Laura Dern's really great in Marriage Story, and I love Laura Dern.
I want to see that. Yeah.
So there's some really good stuff in there, but then like Margot Robbie for Bombshell. Now, does Charlize Theron play Megyn Kelly, or is it Margot Robbie?
I think it's Charlize Theron.
Because I will say that's really good casting.
Yeah, it's good casting.
Because they look exactly alike. But yeah, best animated feature. You got some good stuff in there. It's hard. There's a lot of really good nominations. I didn't know Alexandre Desplat did the score for Little Woman.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I might need to see that movie because I like Greta Gerwig. I just don't really care about the period piece type stuff like that.
Me either. But
I just don't like movies like that.
Rhonda wants to see it because she's into that, but.
Yeah, but we watched Grand Budapest Hotel recently. Alexander Desplat's score for that movie is fucking amazing. It's incredible. Like I love that film. But yeah, I mean, best director. I think you get it right. Like the nomination for Bong Joon-ho for Parasite is just incredible. Like that's so awesome that movie got the recognition that it deserves. Yeah. Because again, that was my favorite film. That was my favorite film, and I think the best film of 2019. That's the only movie that I think like is deserving over 1917, just in terms of like best picture. Yeah. So it's awesome to see it get nominated for best best foreign film and for best picture.
Best picture.
And then get nominated for director. It just shows that people really love it. The people that saw it. So and then you get Knives Out. At least got the screenplay. Yeah. So it's like it. I feel like there's certainly things that are frustrating, but that happens every year, and I guess I'm just tired of being like really mad about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. The problem is, like a movie like Uncut Gems would have another month in the theater if it had gotten nominated for Best Picture.
Agreed, yeah.
Right. And that's the hard part about the Oscars. It's like the nominations, unfortunately, they do matter financially to these fills.
Of course. Yeah,
and it's disappointing to see, films not be as successful as they could be because of Ford versus Ferrari gets nominated, so that gets the spot in the Cinemark Oscar week running rather than Uncut Gems or Lighthouse or
Lighthouse got nominated. I'm looking at the cinematography.
It got nominated for cinematography.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Once upon a time.
I like that a lot.
The Lighthouse. Jaron
and
Blosk.
Joker is absolutely deserving of that too.
Yeah, that's got nominated.
Roger Deakins should win, but
he's not nominated, is he? Oh yeah, he is. What am I talking about? He's going to win. Yeah,
he should win. So we're going to get 2 in a row for Roger Deakins because he won last year for Blade Runner, didn't he? Or was that 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
So yeah, I would love to see Roger Deakins get another one because that dude deserves to win every time he gets nominated, and he doesn't. That dude got nominated twice in 1 year for No Country for Old Men and what was the other one he did? Oh, Assassination of Jesse James. That was that year.
Yeah.
God, and he lost, deservedly so, to There Will Be Blood. But yeah, so that's a good category too. Like I love Robert Richardson for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like because that movie looks amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, there's a lot of good here, and there's some bad for sure, but it's less disappointing than usual for me. So which is not the worst thing.
So Knives Out was original screenplay Once Upon a Time. I wonder if who was going to get it though. Once Upon a Time or 1917. But anyway, so
not the worst year in terms of Oscars, but there's definitely some stupid shit in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it could be worse. Parasite could not get nominated for anything.
Yeah.
Knives Out couldn't get a screenplay nomination. There's at least recognition in the places that I think are definitely like objectively deserving. Like, it's the Oscars. What can you do?
That's a nice ending. It's the Oscars. So what can you do?
Yeah,
that's a nice ending for this episode.
The title of this episode. I thought about doing titles, by the way.
You should name that. It's the Oscars. What are you going to do?
I kind of like that title.
I do too. Put it down, bro. I like that.
Maybe we'll start doing titles now.
Yeah, right. It's the Oscars. So what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
I like that. So yeah. So this was another episode of Indecisive Cinema number 37. It's the Oscars. So what are you going to do, bro?
That's it. We'll see you guys sometime.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we meet up after the Oscars.
We'll do an Oscar recap and complain about all the things that they get wrong. When Ford versus Ferrari wins Best
my
Picture.
Balls, if that happens, I'll never ever watch Oscars.
That's what I say every year, though.
When
Green Book. Green Book gets the Best Picture win. He's just like, no, it's objectively wrong.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
Whatever. It's the Oscars. What are you gonna do? That's Indecisive Cinema. We've ended this show twice.
Twice in the same quote, and it worked. It worked both times. All right, well then, until next time, I'm Carlos Hernandez.
I'm Jeremy Knight,
and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.